I'm here today just to share a bit of my own story with stress and my journey with mindfulness, and also share some practical strategies so that you can try and incorporate mindfulness into your own life if you would like to. So first of all, I thought that I would share a little bit of my own story with stress and how I discovered mindfulness and how it's kind of helped me experience my life in a much better way for me. So I first started experiencing stress when I was about 12 years old in quite a strong way. I didn't know how to deal with it or who to talk to or what to do, and very quickly this escalated into a lot of suicidal thoughts, just a lot of pressure on myself that I put, and then, that's close. I'm not used to a microphone, sorry. I get stressed talking about doing public speaking things. I'll share a bit of that in my own story a bit later on. But yeah, so I started having quite a few suicidal thoughts and experimenting with self-harm. I didn't know how to manage stress or what to do, so it came on very sudden and very strong. Like now, but I'm much better managing it, so yes. It started when I was very young and I didn't know how to manage it, and then it started to become my norm, and this was the problem as I grew older. It became the norm for me. I was used to feeling stressed, high levels of anxiety. My heart was always racing. I woke up first thing in the morning and was planning my day. And in year 11, I started to realise that I wasn't the norm and I needed to see someone about it. I went and saw my doctor, and he said that after a couple of tests and scans and things, he decided that he wanted to put me on blood pressure medication. And being 17 at the time, I thought, this isn't normal. I need to find a new way to deal with this. I have to find a new way. But I couldn't. I didn't know who to talk to or what to do, and I internalised it. And so I kind of squashed it down and tried to hide it away from the world, and I went off to university. I moved to Melbourne from the country and started studying psychology. I think I just wanted to understand my own mind. I wanted to understand what was going on. I wanted to know how to deal with it. I just didn't know how. So it was during this time that I actually started volunteering at the Anxiety Recovery Centre on the helpline, and I started to understand a lot more about stress and anxiety, and I also learned about mindfulness. So mindfulness is all about being present in the moment with curiosity and openness rather than a sense of judgment. So I'd like to actually take you through a quick visualisation, which is just a nice way to understand what mindfulness is all about. So if you would like to, feel free to gently close your eyes. And now imagine that you're standing on the edge of a river. And in this river there are all different types of fish. Big fish, small fish, colourful fish, happy fish, sad fish. Now all of a sudden you notice one particular type of fish and you feel the need to catch it. So you put time and energy and effort into catching this fish. And when you do, you place it in a bucket next to you. You've stopped paying attention to all the other fish now because you need to focus on keeping this one fish alive. Now these fish represent our thoughts. Thousands and thousands of thoughts pass us by every day, but sometimes there's one particular thought which we feel the need to catch hold of and then feed. So we're feeding the fish in the bucket next to us, and all of a sudden we realise that we can actually pick up this fish and put it back in the water where it belongs. So you release the fish into the water and go back to standing on the edge of the river, watching all of the fish go by. And over time you become faster and faster at noticing when you've caught hold of a fish and remembering that you can let it go back into the river. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that's just a nice way that I like to talk about what mindfulness is. It's about realising that sometimes we've caught hold of a particular thought, and sometimes there's internal things, am I tight in my chest right now? Can I feel my heart racing? Is my stomach churning? We can notice these things when we're eating and things too. Am I feeling full right now? Would I like something else to eat? Am I dehydrated? Simply noticing what you can feel in your body, and you can do this whenever you like, and that's the beauty of mindfulness, is that it's really simple to bring more and more of it into your day. Cool, so that's what I would like my message today be, is that living more mindfully isn't complicated. It's simply about knowing that you can bring yourself into the moment as much as you like, in as many different ways as you would like. I practice mindfulness a lot in lots of different ways, and sometimes there's weird ways, like I grab my dog and I kind of smell his fur and I'm like, oh, that smells amazing. Just noticing little things that actually do bring you into the now. Maybe it's playing with your kids. Maybe it's reading a book or taking a shower or cooking. Simply knowing what works for you, knowing what feels good, and does help bring you into the moment. Sometimes things naturally bring us into the moment and we don't really have to try too hard. Cool, so my story with public speaking and fear and mindfulness. So as I said, I experienced a lot of stress, and especially when I was in high school, and also especially during any kind of oral presentation. And I had to do a lot of these oral presentations because I was studying a language. And my teacher always told me to go first because she knew the longer I sat there, the worse I was feeling and the more stressed I got. And I would read my words word for word from paper. I was shaking and I was sweating and I could feel myself going red in the face. And it was horrible and I hated it. And I told myself I would never, ever, ever speak in public unless I absolutely had to. So I went off to university and a lot of the time chose my subjects based on whether or not they had oral presentations in them. And if they did, I would be the one that would offer very kindly to do all the work so that I didn't have to actually present on the day. So I got away with it for a while. I decided, cool, don't have to public speak, don't have to present, this is awesome. And then about a year ago, I started my own business and I decided that actually I want to speak in public. I have a message to share that I would like to share. I would like to go out and do public speaking and things like this. So I decided, okay, that's crazy. I don't know if I can do this. And that was when I realised that mindfulness was actually a strategy that I could employ not only during public speaking presentations but also for the long while beforehand. Because if I'd been told that I was going to be speaking at a presentation such as this, and I've done quite a few and a few workshops now, I would have spent weeks, actually probably from the very moment that I found out about it, I would have been feeling stressed. So learning about mindfulness has empowered me in lots of different ways. It's helped me to manage stress when I'm experiencing it, but also helped me to predict areas where I'm probably going to feel stressed and then to do things which make me feel not so stressed. And one of these things is about my thoughts. So for a long time I was telling myself thoughts about public speaking, that I couldn't do it, that I would say something wrong, that I would look really stupid, that, I knew that I would stand in front of people and I would get shaky and nervous and people could see. And that was horrible, I didn't want to do that. But then I realised, you know what, who cares? It's natural sometimes to be nervous. It shows that you care, it shows that you want to do well. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So I realised that actually if I started telling myself things that were encouraging and uplifting and supportive, that I could actually do this public speaking thing. So I started to tell myself, you know what, you can do it. You can practice and you can get better at it slowly. And so I started a podcast and I started speaking from the comfort of my own home. I started sharing my messages about mindfulness. I got used to speaking. I got used to hearing the sound of my voice and not knowing what to say next and sometimes stumbling over my words. And the awesome thing about podcasting is you can just go back and edit it and redo it again later. But the point is, I started telling myself things that I could do it if I wanted to. And eventually I decided, okay, cool, I feel pretty comfortable doing podcasting now. I'm going to start running some workshops. And so I started doing that. And, sometimes it still does get really hard, and it does still make me feel stressed. But I've learned how to bring myself into the moment and stop thinking about it as soon as I do start thinking about it. So for example, I got here quite a bit early, and I was sitting there and I was listening to the wonderful presentation, and I was able to listen. I wasn't thinking in my head, what am I going to say? What if something goes wrong? I wasn't trying to think ahead. And that's the awesome thing about mindfulness, is it helps me to slow down and be present. So I was tuning into, what was going on around me, what was being said, rather than letting my mind go off on its own little tangent. And so, I started public speaking, and it's still not easy, but I'm doing it, and that's kind of the whole point. Sometimes we put ourselves in a box and tell ourselves that we can't do something, and then we realise that actually our thoughts are what are holding us back. So mindfulness really helped me to identify what those thoughts were, and then to replace them with other thoughts that were more positive or uplifting. Things like, actually, I can do this. Or, maybe it's going to be hard, but at the end of the day I'll feel, awesome, I did it. So finding thoughts which you can replace other thoughts so that you can do things that you might never have imagined that you'd be able to do. And that's something that mindfulness has really helped me with. Just before I go on to the breathing techniques, I also wanted to mention something a little bit more about mindfulness and my beliefs about it when I first learned about it. So I did first learn about it when I started volunteering at the Anxiety Recovery Centre. I was studying psychology, so I'd heard about it before, but I hadn't really practiced it very much. But I really wanted to understand it so I could help anyone who called the helpline. I wanted to know what it felt like. I wanted to know how to do it, effective ways of doing it. And so I practiced it in my own time quite a lot. And at first, I didn't think it would help me, honestly. I thought being present, that's not going to help me with my stress. My strength is that I plan ahead. My strength is that I'm really organised. My strength is that I wake up in the morning and I'm already thinking about all the things I have to do. And I didn't realise that that was one of the things that was really perpetuating my stress. So I started practicing mindfulness, and all of a sudden, I realised that I never was mindful. I was always thinking about other things that I had to do. I was always trying to be a couple of steps ahead of myself. If I was at work, I was thinking about being at home, and if I was at home, I was thinking about being at work. If I was lying in bed in the morning, I was already thinking about my breakfast. If I was at yoga, I was thinking about the groceries I had to pick up on the way home. It was full on. It was never ending. So being mindful was a really empowering thing for me. I realised, okay, I can be in this moment right now, and I don't have to judge it either. Sometimes we can be doing something like exercise, and we're like, cool, I'm doing exercise, but when is it going to be over, Sometimes it's being able to experience something that we might perceive as a negative situation and be able to just experience it for what it is. Notice that, it is really tight in my legs right now. That's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. Cool. So I'd like to guide you through a couple of breathing techniques, and these are a few that I've just kind of come across or come up with myself that have really helped me to manage stress in situations where stress might be high. So for example, before I came up here, I was doing a couple of breathing techniques just to tune into the breath, because the breath is a really powerful mindfulness tool. We always have it with us, and no one knows that we're practicing it. So if you'd like to gently close your eyes again and get comfortable. And as we inhale, we're going to count 1 in our minds. And as we hold our breath, we're going to think the word and. And as we exhale, we're going to think the word 2. So getting ready to take a deep breath in. Breathing in, 1. Holding the breath and exhaling, 2. Breathing in, 1. Hold and 2. Breathing out. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And one more. Breathing in, 1 and 2. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. So breathing techniques are really beautifully simple, and you'll probably notice if you are feeling stressed or in a stressful situation that you're breathing quite shallowly, and that's because when stress happens, we go through the flight or fight response, and that is shorter, shallower breathing. So taking these deep breaths is actually us signaling to our body that we're safe. So breathing techniques can be a really powerful tool, and there's lots of different ones. So if that one doesn't resonate with you, I've got a couple more that we're going to go through. And it's funny because when I do these at workshops, everybody has a different preference. Some people like one more than others. Maybe there's a couple that like another one. But always, every time that I've done this, I normally do 3 breathing practices, and there's always someone who prefers something different. So that's the beautiful thing about mindfulness too, is it's very individual, and there's so many different ways to practice it that you don't need to find one that doesn't necessarily resonate with you and then stick with that for a really long period of time. You know, I struggle to meditate, honestly. I use the Calm app and I try to sit down and kind of do visualizations, but I struggle. They don't tend to make me feel on top of my stress, and because my thoughts are so powerful in taking on a mind of their own, sometimes I struggle with meditation, and that's when I might go for a mindful walk, because I find that that's just a little bit more powerful in bringing me back into the present moment. So the second breathing technique is one that I actually use at night time if I'm really struggling to fall asleep. So that's the other effect that stress had on me growing up, was that I didn't sleep very well at all. I would wake up a lot during the night, and then my thoughts would already be racing away, or I'd wake up early and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I never really got a lot of quality sleep. So the stairs visualization is quite a powerful one for me. Again, it doesn't resonate with everybody. But what we essentially want to do is, as we inhale, we imagine our breath travelling up the vertical part of the step, and as we exhale, it travels along the flat part of the step. So if you'd like to, again, close your eyes. And as you breathe in, imagine your breath travelling up the step, and as you breathe out, travelling along the step. Breathing in up the step, and out along the step. Breathing in up the step, and out along the step. Breathing in and out. And one more. Breathing in and out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So sometimes this is a really nice visualization to do because it does bring your mind into the present quite powerfully. You know, you're pairing your breath with a visualization. And did you notice that you weren't thinking about the things that you've got to do tonight, or what you've got to do tomorrow, or something you've got to do next week, or you know, thinking about something that you did earlier today? Oh, I wish I hadn't done that, how stupid was I? It just helps you to be more present. Also, hands on heart is another really powerful one. It's really simple. You just place your hands over your heart, and as you breathe in, you can feel your chest expand. And as you breathe out, you can feel it deflate. And it's just that slight movement that you can pay attention to. And breathing in, feeling it inflating, and breathing out, feeling it deflating. And breathing in and breathing out. And it's as simple as that. And sometimes we can place one hand over our heart and one hand over our stomach, because both of those areas do inflate and deflate. Sometimes it's nice just to have your hands over your heart. It's really a personal preference. And finally, the last one is another visualization. So if you'd like to, again, close your eyes. Now, as you breathe in, imagine the wave rising and cresting. And as you breathe out, imagine it crashing down. So breathing in, wave rising up. And breathing out, the wave comes down. Breathing in, the wave goes up. Breathing out, the wave goes down. One more. Breathing in and out. Beautiful. So that's the waves visualization. So again, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, it doesn't have to be tricky, it can be something really simple. There's lots of different ones that you can do. You can imagine the clouds above you, you can imagine being up beside a river and watching the fish go by, you know, whatever feels really good for you. Cool, so gratitude is another thing that I really like to talk about with mindfulness practices because I found it quite powerful myself. And I think that was part of the whole planning and always trying to be ahead of myself. I would get very caught up in what I hadn't done yet or what I hadn't achieved and what I felt like I should be doing. Whereas bringing ourselves back into the moment and actually noticing the things that we have to be grateful for can be a really beautiful way to practice mindfulness and also just to bring a bit more of a sense of well-being into your own life. So if you can take some time now just to think about 2 things that you're grateful for about this room. And now 2 things that you're grateful for about your personality. Two things that you're grateful for about the people around you. You know, I catch the train to work in the morning and you focus on the people that are coughing or playing their music too loudly, or one lady even brought a dog home on the train the other night and was barking. You know, we don't notice the people around us that are quiet, or the people around us that might help us if we needed their help. Now think about 2 things that you're grateful for about your body. You know, my body wants to heal me. It's doing the best job that it can to keep me alive. My body got me here. And 2 things that you're grateful for about the possessions that you have with you right now. Maybe it's something that you're wearing, or a piece of jewellery that's special to you, or your phone. So there's lots of things about this moment that we can actually be grateful for if we choose to. Cool, so mindful eating and drinking. So mindful eating and drinking, again, it can sound complicated, but it's not. It's more about not multitasking, you know, not watching the TV or reading your emails at the same time, and noticing just what is happening in this experience. So for example, if you sit down with something that you've made to eat and you notice, what does it smell like? What does it look like? What colours are there in the food? And then as you're eating, noticing the textures and noticing the flavours, noticing the way that it makes your body feel. There are lots of things about something as simple as eating that we can actually appreciate in the moment. And it's the same with drinking. You know, you can sit down with a cup of tea, you can feel the warmth of it. Even the preparation of it, actually. You can, you know, choose a particular cup. Be conscious with your choices. I'd like to use this cup today because it's bigger and I feel like a big glass of tea, cup of tea. And then as you brew the tea, noticing the smell, noticing the water as you pour it over the tea, how it infuses, and the colours and the way that it looks. And then as you're drinking it, you feel the warmth of the tea, or maybe a cool glass of water. Again, noticing the flavour, noticing the smell of it. You might like to hold it and take a deep breath in before you drink any of it. What does it smell like? Now, some other ideas for mindful eating. There's lots of things that we do around eating that we can be mindful for, and one of them is washing the dishes. And I know that seems kind of funny, and I used to dread washing the dishes. I was like, oh, I don't want to. But now it's an experience that I can use to be more mindful. It's an opportunity. You know, the warmth of the water, the smell of the soap, the feeling of the dish in your hands. You can turn what you might once have thought a negative situation into just an experience or an opportunity to be mindful. To have 5 minutes alone with yourself, to just wash these dishes, this simple process, which you can pay attention to. And cooking is another one that I absolutely love. I don't use recipes anymore because I find that I like to just be present in the moment, and I cook things depending on what it tastes like, or what I would like to add to it, or what I feel like. So I do plan out my meals at the start of the week, so I know that I've got all the groceries and everything kind of ready to go, and then I just do whatever I feel like. You know, what do I feel like eating right now? What can I add to this dish to make it taste better or look better? What does it feel like as I'm chopping the dishes or I'm stirring the pot? Noticing the different temperatures as I move around the kitchen, opening the fridge, it's cold. Opening the oven, it's warm. And grocery shopping, making choices. Do you always choose one particular type of pasta and you don't even think twice about reaching for it every time? Try making a different conscious choice. Maybe I would like this pasta instead today. Maybe it's cheaper, or maybe it looks prettier. Do you always get the same type of fruit? I just grabbed bananas because I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, oh, I can get whatever I like. You know, what do I feel like eating today? Or what can I take to work with me this week that I can look forward to eating on my break? Maybe it's strawberries or watermelon. Asking yourself, what do I like? What do I want? What is going to make me feel good the rest of the week? So my message is to take home today, take small steps to living more mindfully in meaningful ways. And when I say meaningful ways, in ways that are important to you or that resonate with you. If you enjoyed one of the breathing practices, maybe you'd like to do that in the morning when you first wake up. You know, you hit the snooze button and maybe you'd lie there and start thinking about your day. You can notice, oh, I'm thinking about my day, maybe I'll do a breathing practice. Or if there's a particular time of the day when you get stressed, you know, setting a reminder on your phone so that you remember to take that time to do a breathing practice or go for a mindful walk. Mindful walking isn't one that I really talked about today, but it's bringing the same principle of everything else that I was talking about. Noticing the colours around you, noticing the ground underneath your feet as you're walking, noticing the way your body feels. It actually moves quite a lot as we walk. Our arms move, you know, our legs are moving, we can feel the ground underneath us. There's so many different experiences that we can actually tune into throughout our days. And create a mindfulness practice that you can genuinely enjoy. So again, it's about finding practices that do feel good for you, that you don't think, oh, I have to do that mindfulness practice tonight. For me, that used to be meditation. I'd be like, oh, I should really do that meditation now. And then it's like, oh no, I'll do it a bit later. Then it got to a bit later, I was like, oh, I still haven't meditated. Geez, I'm so bad at being mindful. You know, slap on the wrist. Find things that make you feel good and that you can look forward to doing. Maybe it's something like yin yoga. I love doing yin yoga. Maybe it's mindful eating. Maybe it's mindful walking. Maybe it's playing with your children. Children are so wonderful at being mindful. Just naturally. They're very single-minded. They focus on what they're doing. Learn about mindfulness from them. Oh, I think that's about it from me. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
How long would you suggest with the breathing and those sorts of things? How long should you do it for? Or?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, great question. So the question is, how long would you do a mindfulness breathing practice for? And the answer is, it's up to you. Again, you might like to set a reminder on your phone for 5 minutes. I don't always recommend that you do them for a really long period of time, especially at the start, because it can be a source of frustration. You know, if you notice yourself feeling frustrated, be like, okay, I'm feeling frustrated right now. That's okay. It's all right. I'm putting in the effort to be mindful, and even if I take 3 deep breaths, that's still more than what I was doing before. Yeah, so find a certain amount of time that does actually feel really good for you. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 20, maybe it's just 1 deep breath before you do something stressful. You know, 1 deep breath can be enough sometimes. You're welcome. Anybody else?
Do you always close your eyes when you're doing your breath techniques or relaxation?
No, it depends again on what kind of situation you're in. If I'm driving, sometimes I get quite stressed when I'm driving. So closing my eyes then wouldn't be a good idea. But if you can just take 1 deep breath. So again, it depends on the type of exercise that you're doing. If you're lying in bed at night and you're doing something like the stairs, which I do quite a lot because it does help me fall asleep, then I have my eyes closed, or in the morning, you know, because I'm tired, I do a breathing practice with my eyes open, because otherwise I just fall back asleep. So yeah, it depends on your situation and what feels good again. Anyone else? Oh, awesome, thank you for having me.
Thank you.